When you first were pitched this project and were thinking about doing it, what did you start thinking about first? Was it the story of the film, or was it more envisioning what Tomorrowland itself would look like?
It was trying to figure out how to take people on the journey. And, we knew that Tomorrowland as a place was only going to be part of this story. A lot of it is the road to getting there. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz in that. You don't spend the movie dancing around Oz. You kind of go to Oz and then go away from Oz in Wizard of Oz. So Wizard of Oz is more about the journey, and I think this film is too.
Take me back to when you and Damon were actually writing this. What were the big themes that you really wanted to explore here?
Well, we had felt like a lot of people do, where's our jetpack? We were promised a jetpack. There were a guy landed in the Super Bowl years ago. What's happened? Where is it? It's overdue. But I think where's our jetpack is kind of a fast, funny way to say what happened to that great future we were promised. And that really is a very current thing. It seems to be everywhere in the culture. And there seems to be a collective resignation, almost like a shrug, about, yeah, it's going to stink, the future, and we're all just passengers on this crappy bus. And we kind of asked ourselves, why is that? When did it change? Because when we were kids, we all imagined the future as being positive. And what made it change? And can we get back to the other way of thinking? Because it's a better way of thinking.
What would you say are the reasons that George Clooney was the perfect choice for Frank?
Well, I think that beyond being a great actor and a really funny guy, everybody is well acquainted with his integrity. He sticks his neck out for things he believes in and does so sometimes before they're popular stances. He's a guy that means what he says and is willing to step out and say it. And I have a lot of respect for George. I did before I got a chance to work with him, and I do even more so now.
The role of David Nix, obviously very pivotal. How did you go about...
Hugh Laurie was also our first choice for David Nix. And so we were 2 for 2 for those guys.
Wow.
We wrote the character imagining Hugh in the same way that we did for George, and we were just lucky that we got them both.
Tell me about the decision to do as much of this movie as you could on locations with practical sets. Why was that important, and what do you think it added?
I think there is a tendency, and look, I've done a couple of films that were completely computer generated, so I obviously don't have a problem with that. But I think in using computer-generated visual effects in live action, there's a tendency sometimes to just have people wandering around in a blue screen. And I think you can feel it. And on my last film, Mission Impossible, Tom was actually on the Burj Khalifa and climbing the tallest building in the world, and we shot on the outside of the actual building. And we thought when we were shooting it that everybody was just going to go, it's just a special effect, but they could feel the fact that it was real, and they responded. And so I definitely wanted to try to do as much as I could in camera on this film.
How would you say the Walt Disney vision of Tomorrowland connects to your film?
Disney was a guy that believed in taking an active role in the future. And he viewed the future as an exciting thing, as something that had enormous challenges but was like, can't wait. And I love that idea. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the space shows that he did in the late 50s, but they're fantastic, and they have this animation of bizarre creatures that may exist on other planets. And all of this was done before the space program really existed in the form that we know it, where they actually sent things into space and to the moon. So I think in some weird way, the fact that he presented this as something that absolutely could happen and is going to happen helped it happen. And to me, that vision of the future was very important. Now, the last things that he did, among them, were a new version of Tomorrowland, which opened 6 months after he died, where he participated in every ride actively, and Epcot, which was at that time supposed to be an actual city where new ideas could be tried. And all of that had a huge influence on this film.
You touched on this, but the movie does offer kind of a more positive look at the future. Why do you think it's important that people view the future in a positive way?
I think that if you look at something and keep your look fixed on it, you'll be drawn toward it. And now everybody is fixed on the planet's going to stink, the environment's going to crash and burn. All the money can be taken away at a second's notice with math that nobody understands, and we're fixated towards it, and we're hypnotized toward it, and we're moving toward it. I think we need to change that vision into the world that we want, and we'll be drawn toward it.
And what do you hope audiences will take from and experience when they sit down at the theater for this film?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they just have a great time and eat a lot of popcorn and have a blast. It's intended to be a fun ride. But after that, I would hope that they realize that we all shape what the future is, and don't just accept a future that you don't believe in. Make the future that you believe in.
Great.